Welcome to Chapter 9, Some Applications of Trigonometry. Here you'll use trigonometry to measure heights and distances you can never reach with a tape, the height of a tower, the width of a river, the distance to a ship. You'll meet the line of sight, the angle of elevation when you look up, and the angle of depression when you look down. The big idea is simple. Every such problem hides a right triangle. You learn to draw that triangle, label the side you know and the side you want, and choose tan, sin or cos accordingly. Then, using the special values at 30, 45 and 60 degrees, you'll solve every insert example and every exercise, step by step, before finishing with exam practice.
In the darkness of the unknown, a stuck student finds their way, the greatest minds, and turn confusion into brilliance.
Let's begin with the most ordinary thing in the world. You are standing here on level ground, that's you, the observer on the left, and in front of you rises a tower. Now, you cannot climb it with a measuring tape to find its height. So here is the question the whole chapter answers. How do you find a height you can never reach, using only things you can measure on the ground, an angle and a distance? Watch what happens the moment you tilt your head up to look at its top. Look at the blue line I'm drawing, that straight line running from your eye all the way up to the very top of the tower. We call that the line of sight. It's simply where your gaze points. Now I also draw the dashed horizontal line, straight ahead at your eye level, as if you were looking flat across the ground. The gap between that flat horizontal and your lifted line of sight, that orange corner on screen, is the amount your eye had to swing upward to catch the top. That angle has a name, the angle of elevation, and we'll call it theta. Notice why elevation, because your gaze is elevated, lifted up, above the flat horizontal. Now here is a quiet piece of magic. Watch these three lines on screen, the tower standing straight up, the ground running flat, and your line of sight slanting across the top. Together they close into a triangle. And because the tower is vertical and the ground is horizontal, they meet at the foot in a perfect right angle. See that little square I'm marking at the base. So this isn't just any triangle, it's a right triangle. That's the whole reason trigonometry can enter. Every rule about sine, cosine and tangent you learned last chapter lives inside a right triangle, and here one has appeared on its own, just from you looking up. The height h is the side standing straight up, the distance d is the side running along the ground, and theta sits down at your eye. Now let's read the triangle from theta's point of view, sitting down at your eye. Which side is directly across from theta, facing it? The height h, that's the opposite side. Which side lies right alongside theta, forming one arm of the angle? The distance d, that's the adjacent side. And you'll remember from the last chapter that the ratio of opposite to adjacent has a name. It is the tangent of the angle. So without inventing anything new, we can write it down. Tan theta equals h over d. Sit with how powerful that single line is. On the left is an angle you can measure with a simple instrument from the ground. On the right is a height you could never reach, divided by a distance you can pace out. One equation, and the unreachable height is now tied to two things firmly in your hands. That equation is the beating heart of this entire chapter. You might be quietly wondering, is this angle theta really so trustworthy? Does it actually depend on where I stand, or is it just some fixed number? Let's test it honestly. I'll nail the tower in place, its height never changes, and then I'll let you, the observer, walk back and forth. Keep your eye on the orange angle and watch how it breathes as you move. Walk in closer to the tower. Watch. The distance d along the ground is shrinking, and because the top stays at the same fixed height, your line of sight has to tip up more steeply to reach it, so the angle of elevation grows wider. That already makes sense in your gut, doesn't it? Stand right at the foot of a tall building and you must crane your neck straight up. Now step far back and the distance d grows large. The same top now sits low and far, so your line of sight flattens out toward the horizontal, and the angle shrinks small. So here's the honest answer to the doubt: theta is not fixed, it changes as you move. But that's exactly the good news, not the bad. It means the angle carries real information about the distance. Tell me the angle and I can tell you where you stood. And now let's turn that one equation around, because this is the whole trick of the chapter. Almost always the height h is the thing you cannot reach and want to find. So take tan theta equals h over d, and just multiply both sides by d. That lifts h out on its own and gives h equals d times tan theta. Read it aloud. The height equals the distance you paced out, times the tangent of the angle you measured. To ground measurements, one multiplication, and the unreachable height falls right into your hand. Every single problem you'll meet is really just this idea, dressed in different clothes. So far you've always looked up from the ground. But exam problems love to flip it around. Sometimes you're up high, on a rooftop, a cliff, a lighthouse, looking down at something below. Let's build that case now, and I promise you it's the same idea wearing a disguise. This time you are the observer standing on top of the tower, on the left, and down there on the right is a point on the ground, maybe a boat, a car, a person, that you're looking down toward. Same recipe as before. First I draw the horizontal, that dashed line straight out from your eyes at the top, level, as if you were staring flat at the far horizon. Then the blue line of sight, dropping down from your eye to the point on the ground. The angle between them, that orange corner up at the top, is how far your gaze had to swing down below the horizontal. We call it the angle of depression. And notice the word again, depression, because your gaze is depressed, pressed down, below the flat horizontal, just as elevation meant lifted above it. Now here's the clever bit that turns every depression problem into an ordinary one. The angle theta up at the top is awkward to work with directly, it's floating in the air. So watch, I draw a second horizontal, this time along the ground at the point below. Look at the two dashed horizontals now, the one at the top and the one at the ground. They are both horizontal, so they are parallel to each other. And your blue line of sight cuts straight across both of them. In geometry we call that a transversal. Remember alternate interior angles from parallel lines? When a transversal crosses two parallels, the alternate angles are equal. So the angle of depression up at the top is exactly equal to the new angle of elevation down at the ground point. See, both are theta. That's not a coincidence, it's forced by the parallel lines. So write it down and never forget it. The angle of depression from the top equals the angle of elevation from the bottom. What this really means for you is beautifully practical. Whenever a problem says the angle of depression is theta, you can quietly slide that same theta down to the ground point and treat the whole thing as an ordinary lookup problem, exactly like the ones we already solved. It's the same triangle, simply read from the bottom instead of the top. Looking down at theta and looking up at theta are two views of one and the same picture. Let's gather the whole concept into 3 lines you can carry into any problem. First, the angle of elevation is simply how far your eye lifts above the horizontal to reach a top, and the instant you look up, a right triangle is born. Second, and most important, inside that right triangle the tangent hands you height over distance, so one measured angle and one measured distance unlock a height you could never climb. Third, looking down, the angle of depression is no new idea at all. It just mirrors the elevation across parallel horizontals, so you slide it to the ground and solve as usual. Hold on to these 3, because now we are going to turn them loose on every kind of height and distance problem there is. Let's walk through all 7 insert examples together. And I want you to notice a rhythm that repeats every single time. We draw the right triangle. We name which side is opposite the angle and which is adjacent. We decide whether the hypotenuse is involved. And only then do we choose tangent, sine or cosine. Once that habit is in your hands, these problems stop being scary and start being almost mechanical. One gentle step at a time. Stand 15 meters back, look up at 60 degrees, and watch one angle hand you a height you could never climb. Let's set the picture up carefully, because a good drawing does half the work. The tower is vertical, so I draw it as the upright side. The ground is flat, so it's the horizontal side, and where the tower meets the ground, they form a right angle at the foot. That right angle is what makes this a right triangle and lets trigonometry in. The observer stands 15 meters away and looks up at 60 degrees. Our goal is the vertical height up. Before reaching for any formula, ask the 2 questions that decide everything. What do I know, and what do I want? I know the ground distance of 15, which lies right alongside the angle, that's the adjacent side. I want the height, which stands directly across from the angle, that's the opposite side. Opposite over adjacent is the very definition of the tangent, so tangent is exactly the tool that connects what I have to what I want. No hypotenuse is involved, so I don't need sine or cosine. Now I pour in the numbers I actually know. The angle is 60 degrees, and the adjacent side BC is 15 meters. The only unknown left is up. Here I use a value worth memorizing for life. The tangent of 60 degrees is root 3. Where does that come from? From the 30-60-90 triangle, whose sides are in the ratio 1 to root 3 to 2. The side opposite 60 is root 3 times the shorter one. So I replaced an 60 with root 3. The height up is trapped in a division by 15, so to free it I do the opposite operation and multiply both sides by 15. That cleanly cancels the 15 underneath and leaves ab alone on one side. So the tower stands 15 root 3 meters tall. And because root 3 is about 1.732, that works out to roughly 26 meters, a sensible, tall tower answer. Always do this last check. Does the number feel physically reasonable? Insight: burn this pattern in. When you stand on the ground, know the base distance, and want the height. The height is opposite and the base is adjacent, so tangent is almost always your first choice. This one setup covers a huge share of the chapter. The moment a problem hands you a ladder, you've been handed a hypotenuse, and that one word decides your whole strategy. Read carefully first, because the trap here is answering the wrong height. She doesn't reach the top of the pole. She reaches a point 1.3 meters below the 5-meter top. So the height she must actually climb to is 5 minus 1.3. Subtracting gives 3.7 meters, that, not 5, is the vertical side of our triangle. Now draw it. The pole is the vertical side, the ground is horizontal, and here's the new character. The ladder leans across as the slanted side, at 60 degrees to the ground. The ladder is the longest side, the one facing the right angle, that makes it the hypotenuse. Spotting the hypotenuse is the whole game in this problem. First we want the ladder's length. Line up the sides against the angle. The reach of 3.7 is opposite the 60-degree angle, and the ladder is the hypotenuse. Which ratio pairs opposite with hypotenuse? That's the sine. Remember, sine is opposite over hypotenuse. Because a hypotenuse is involved, tangent is the wrong tool here. Sine is right. Substitute the reach of 3.7 and recall the special value from the 30-60-90 triangle. Sine of 60 is root 3 over 2. The ladder BC is stuck in the denominator, so I cross multiply the two outside terms and the two inside terms to lift BC up top and free it. Now put root 3 as 1.73 and compute. 3.7 times 2 over 1.73 comes out to about 4.28 meters. So she needs a ladder just over 4 meters long. The problem also asks where to plant the ladder's foot. Look at the base along the ground. It is adjacent to the 60-degree angle, while the reach is opposite. Adjacent over opposite is the cotangent of 60, which is 1 over root 3. That's simply tangent flipped upside down. Multiply both sides by the reach of 3.7 to pull the base distance DC out on its own. With root 3 as 1.73, the foot of the ladder sits about 2.14 meters out from the pole. Notice it's less than the ladder length. The slant is always longer than its shadow on the ground, which is a nice sanity check. Insight: train your eye to spot the hypotenuse first. If the slanted side, a ladder, a rope, a string, a line of sight of known length, is either given or wanted, then tangent is out and sine or cosine is your ratio. Which one? Sine if it pairs with the opposite side, cosine if it pairs with the adjacent. Her eyes aren't down at the ground, so the angle only reaches the chimney above eye level, and we quietly add her height back at the very end. Here's the subtle point that trips people up. The angle of elevation is measured from her eyes, which are 1.5 meters off the floor, not from the ground itself. So the line of sight only climbs the part of the chimney above her eye level. The smart move is to split the chimney into two pieces, the part above her eyes, which I'll call A, plus the 1.5 meters level with her eyes, B. We solve for A with trig, then add B at the end. Now, the horizontal distance the sight line travels from her eyes across to the chimney is the same as the ground distance she's standing at, 28.5 meters, because her eyes are directly above her feet. So the base of our triangle is 28.5. Look at the upper triangle, from her eyes to the top. The part AE is opposite the 45-degree angle, and the distance they is adjacent. Opposite over adjacent, that's tangent again. No hypotenuse in what we want, so tangent is right. Substitute the base of 28.5 and recall the friendliest special value in the whole chapter. Tangent of 45 is exactly 1. It's 1 because at 45 degrees the triangle is isosceles, the opposite and adjacent sides are equal. Multiply both sides by 28.5. And because tan 45 is just 1, something lovely happens. The height above her eyes comes out exactly equal to the distance. Whenever you see 45 degrees, expect height and base to match. Now don't stop here. That's only the part above her eyes. Add back her eye height of 1.5 meters to get the full chimney from the ground up. 28.5 plus 1.5 is a clean 30 meters. Insight: whenever the observer has a stated height, eyes, a boy, a girl, never forget it. Solve trig for the part above the eyes, then add the observer's own height back at the end. Forgetting that final addition is one of the most common ways to lose a mark. Two different angles measured from one fixed spot. That's your signal for two right triangles quietly sharing the very same base. This is a new species of problem, so let's see its shape clearly. You stand at one point P and take two sightings, up to the building's top at 30 degrees, and higher still to the flag's top at 45. That's two right triangles, but here's the key gift. Both triangles rest on the same base par, the horizontal distance from you to the building. So our strategy is, use one triangle to nail that shared base, then feed it into the other. Find the base first. Start with the shorter triangle, up to the 10-meter building top. Its height is opposite the angle and the base par is adjacent, so it's tangent again, tangent of 30. Substitute the 10-meter height, and recall tangent of 30 is 1 over root 3, the smallest of our three standard tangents, because 30 is a shallow angle. Cross-multiply to solve for the base. This gives par equals 10 root 3, about 17.3 meters. Hold on to this number, it's the shared base both triangles stand on, and it also answers half the question, the distance of the building from P. Now to the taller triangle, up to the flag. Let the flagstaff length be x. Then the full height from the ground all the way to the flag top is the building's 10 plus the flag's x, that is 10 plus x. For this taller sighting the angle is 45, and tangent of 45 is 1, so the total height equals the base exactly. The 45-degree angle is doing us a favor again. Because that tangent is 1, the full height simply equals the base par we already found, 10 root 3. Now just subtract the building's 10 meters from both sides to leave the flagstaff alone. Factor out the 10 to keep it tidy. Put root 3 as 1.732. 10 times root 3 minus 1 is about 7.32 meters. So the flagpole is roughly 7 meters tall, sitting atop the 10-meter building. Insight: this is the master pattern for the hard problems. Two angles from the same point mean two triangles on one shared base. Solve the base once from the triangle you can fully compute, then reuse that base in the second triangle. Spot the shared base and these problems unravel. Two shadows, one tower, and a mystery length you don't even care about, set up two equations and make it cancel itself away. Notice this problem hands us no distance at all, only that one shadow is 40 meters longer than the other. So we can't solve one triangle alone, we'll need two equations and some algebra. The art is in the naming. Let the tower height be h. Let the shorter shadow, cast at the higher 60-degree sun, be x. Then the longer shadow, at the lower 30-degree sun, is 40 meters more, x plus 40. Two unknowns, so we'll need two equations. Write the first triangle, the 60-degree one with the short shadow. Height h is opposite, shadow x is adjacent, so tangent of 60. Tangent of 60 is root 3, and rearranging gives h equals root 3 times x. Label this equation 1, it's h expressed through x. Now the second triangle, the 30-degree sun with the longer shadow. Same height h on top, but the base is now x plus 40. Tangent of 30 is 1 over root 3. That's our equation 2, the same h, now tied to the longer base. Here's the elimination move. Since equation 1 already tells us h equals root 3x, I substitute that in for h in equation 2. Now h has vanished and only x remains. Exactly the unknown we didn't care about is gone, and the one we can solve is left. Cross multiply. On the right, root 3 times root 3 is 3, so we get 3x. The whole thing collapses to x plus 40 equals 3x. This is now just a simple linear equation, no trig left. Bring the x's together. 40 equals to x, so x is 20. The short shadow is 20 meters. Finally, feed x back into equation 1 to recover the height we actually wanted. H equals root 3 times 20, which is 20 root 3, about 34.5 meters. In sight, when the same object is seen in two positions, you get two equations sharing the height. Write each height equation, then substitute one into the other so the nuisance unknown, here the shadow length, cancels itself out and you're left with a clean equation to solve. This is the depression trick in full force. Those two down edges on top secretly become friendly up edges at the bottom, all thanks to parallel lines. This looks intimidating, but remember the concept. An angle of depression from the top equals the angle of elevation from the bottom, because the horizontal at the top and the ground are parallel and the sight line is a transversal, making them equal alternate angles. So I slide both depression angles down. The 30 and the 45 become elevation angles measured up from the small building's top and foot. Instantly the scary picture becomes two ordinary elevation triangles. Let me name the pieces. Call PD the part of the tall building that rises above the small building's roof. And notice a crucial fact from the rectangle in the figure. The horizontal gap BD at roof level equals the ground distance AC between the buildings, opposite sides of a rectangle. Also DC, the little vertical drop, equals the small building's height, 8 meters. Take the upper triangle. From the eye at the top P across to the small building's roof. PD is opposite the 30-degree angle and BD is adjacent, so tangent of 30, which is 1 over root 3. Rearrange so the gap BD is written in terms of PD. Cross multiplying gives BD equals PD times root 3. That's our first relationship. Now the lower triangle, from P down to the small building's foot, at 45 degrees. Tangent of 45 is 1, so the whole tall building height PC equals the full ground distance AC. Second relationship secured. The tall building splits naturally into two stacked parts. PC equals PD, the bit above the roof, plus DC, the bit level with the small building, and DC is at 8 meters. Now chain the equalities together. AC equals BD which equals PD root 3, and AC also equals PC which equals PD plus 8. Since both equal AC, they equal each other. Setting them equal removes AC entirely. Gather the PD terms on one side, moving PD across so it factors out. Divide to isolate PD. But root 3 minus 1 in the denominator is ugly, so we rationalize, multiply top and bottom by root 3 plus 1, which cleans it up to 4 times root 3 plus 1. The full tall building height is PD plus the 8 meters of DC. Adding and simplifying gives 4 times 3 plus root 3, about 18.9 meters. And the distance between the buildings? That's AC, which we showed equals PC, so it's the very same value, about 18.9 meters. One computation gave us both answers. Insight: never wrestle with depression angels up in the air. Slide each one down, depression at the top equals elevation at the bottom, and redraw the whole thing as ordinary elevation triangles. From the top of a building, problem becomes a plain lookup problem this way. One point up on the bridge, two banks below on opposite sides, solve each little base, then add them for the full river width. Picture it from above. You're at point P on the bridge, 3 meters up, and you look down at both banks, but they're on opposite sides of you. So the foot of your height sits between the banks and splits the river width up into two pieces, AD reaching to one bank, DB reaching to the other. Because the banks are on opposite sides, we add the two pieces, not subtract. So the plan is, find AD, find DB, add. First bank. The depression of 30 at the bridge becomes an elevation of 30 at the bank, by our alternate angle rule. The height PD of 3 is opposite, and AD is adjacent, so tangent of 30, 1 over root 3. Substitute the 3-meter height and cross-multiply for AD. The shallow 30-degree angle means a long reach, so AD comes out 3 root 3 meters. Second bank, the other side. Here the angle is 45, tangent 1, so the base simply equals the height, dB equals PD equals 3 meters. The steeper 45 angle gives a shorter reach than the 30 did, which makes sense. Now add the two pieces for the full river width, 3 root 3 on one side plus 3 on the other. Factor out the 3 to write it neatly as 3 times root 3 plus 1. Putting in root 3, that's about 8.2 meters across. A believable river width from a modest bridge. Insight: watch the geometry to know whether to add or subtract. When one point looks down at two things on opposite sides, the foot splits the base and you add the two pieces. When the two targets are on the same side, you subtract. The picture decides. Now let's solve every question of exercise 9.1. Keep the same discipline we built in the examples. For each one we draw the right triangle, mark the right angle, name the opposite and adjacent sides, check whether a hypotenuse is in play, and only then pick tangent, sine or cosine. I'll break every question into small, clear steps you can follow and reproduce on your own in the exam. The rope is stretched tight, so it's a perfect hypotenuse. The pole is the height, and sine is the bridge between them. Let's draw before we compute. The pole stands vertical, the ground runs horizontal, and the tightly stretched rope slants from the pole's top down to the ground, making 30 degrees with it. Because the rope is the longest, slanted side facing the right angle, it's the hypotenuse, and its length, 20 meters, is given. We want the pole's height. Now the ratio choice. The pole is opposite the 30-degree angle, and the rope is the hypotenuse. Opposite paired with hypotenuse is the sine, so sine is the tool. Tangent would be wrong here because a hypotenuse, not the base, is what we are given. Substitute the friendliest value of all. Sine of 30 is exactly 1/2. It's 1/2 because in a 30-60-90 triangle the side opposite 30 is half the hypotenuse. Multiply both sides by 20 to release the height. Half of 20 is 10, so the pole is 10 meters tall, exactly half the rope, just as sine 30 promised. Insight: whenever the slanted length is the known quantity and you want the vertical rise, sine is the direct route, no tangent needed. And with a 30-degree angle, the height is always just half the hypotenuse. A broken tree is really two lengths in disguise, the stump still standing, and the snapped part now leaning over as a hypotenuse. This one needs a careful picture. The tree snapped partway up. The lower part, the stump, still stands vertical. The upper part didn't fall off, it bent over and its tip touches the ground, forming a slanted line at 30 degrees. So that bent part is the hypotenuse, the stump is the vertical side, and the 8 meters along the ground from the foot to the touching tip is the base. The original tree height is the stump plus the bent part, because before it broke those two were one straight trunk. Find the stump first. It's opposite the 30-degree angle, the base of 8 is adjacent, so opposite over adjacent is tangent of 30. Tangent of 30 is 1 over root 3, so multiplying across, the stump is 8 over root 3 meters. Now the bent part, the hypotenuse. We know the base of 8, which is adjacent to the angle, and we want the hypotenuse. Adjacent paired with hypotenuse is cosine, so cosine of 30. Cosine of 30 is root 3 over 2. Rearranging, the broken length is 8 times 2 over root 3, that is 16 over root 3. The whole tree is stump plus bent part. Both already share the denominator root 3, so just add the tops. 8 plus 16 is 24 over root 3. Never leave a root in the denominator. Rationalize by multiplying top and bottom by root 3. 24 root 3 over 3 is 8 root 3, about 13.9 meters. Insight: a broken tree always hides to lengths that must be added. The tangent gives the standing stump, and the cosine gives the fallen hypotenuse. The key insight is that the original height is stump plus slant, not just one of them. Each slide is a ramp rising to a known top, a hypotenuse over a known height, so it's sine again, done twice. 2 slides, same idea, so let's set up the general rule once. Each slide is the slanted ramp, the hypotenuse, and the height it climbs to is the vertical side, opposite the angle it makes with the ground. Opposite over hypotenuse is sine, so sine will crack both slides. We know each height and each angle, and we want each slide length. First slide, for the little ones, it rises to 1.5 meters at a gentle 30 degrees. Write sine 30 equals height over slide length L1. Sine of 30 is 1/2. So 1/2 equals 1.5 over L1. Rearranging, L1 is 1.5 times 2. That's a clean 3 meters for the first, gentle slide. Second slide, the steep one for older children. It rises to 3 meters at 60 degrees. Same sign set up with the new numbers. Sine of 60 is root 3 over 2, so root 3 over 2 equals 3 over L2. Cross multiply to get 3 times 2 over root 3, then rationalize, that simplifies to 2 root 3, about 3.46 meters. Insight, notice the taller slide climbs to double the height, yet its ramp is only about half a meter longer. A steeper angle packs far more height into nearly the same length of ramp. That's why steep slides feel so much taller without taking much more material. Base known, height wanted, and a right angle at the foot. This is a textbook tangent problem in its purest form. This is the cleanest possible version of our course setup, so let's use it to lock the method in. The tower is vertical. The 30-meter ground distance lies alongside the angle so it's adjacent, and the height stands across from the angle so it's opposite. Opposite over adjacent is tangent, no hypotenuse anywhere, so tangent it is. Substitute tangent of 30, which is 1 over root 3, the small tangent for the shallow 30-degree look. Multiply both sides by 30 to lift the height out on its own. That gives h equals 30 over root 3. A root in the denominator is never a finished answer, so rationalize, multiply top and bottom by root 3. 30 root 3 over 3 simplifies to 10 root 3, about 17.3 meters. Insight, make rationalizing an automatic reflex. Whenever an answer lands with root 3 sitting underneath, multiply top and bottom by root 3 so the final height comes out as a clean whole number times root 3. That's the form examiners expect. A taut string with no slack is a dead straight hypotenuse climbing to the kite's height, and sine is what links slant to height. Draw the picture. The kite's height of 60 meters is the vertical side, and the string slants down to the ground at 60 degrees. That phrase, no slack, is doing important work. It guarantees the string is perfectly straight, so we can treat it as the hypotenuse of a right triangle. Height is opposite the angle. String is the hypotenuse, so opposite over hypotenuse is sine. Substitute sine of 60, root 3 over 2. The string length L is stuck in the denominator, so cross-multiply to bring it up top. L equals 60 times 2 over root 3, 120 over root 3. Rationalize the root out of the denominator. 120 root 3 over 3 gives 40 root 3, about 69.3 meters of string. Insight, watch for signal phrases. No slack, taut, tightly stretched, all mean the same thing. The slanted line is a straight hypotenuse. That's your cue to reach for sine or cosine rather than tangent. He walks and the angle steepens from 30 to 60, measure from his eyes, get to distances, and the walk is their difference. Two things to handle here. First, the boy has height, so the angle is taken from his eyes at 1.5 meters up. The building rises only 30 minus 1.5, that is 28.5 meters above his eye level. Second, how far did he walk means we need two positions, his far starting spot and his near finishing spot. Find each distance from the building, then subtract. At the far position the elevation is a shallow 30. height 28.5 is opposite, his distance d1 is adjacent, so tangent of 30. Solving, the far distance is 28.5 root 3. At the near position, having walked in, the elevation has steepened to 60. Same height, tangent of 60 now, giving the nearer distance 28.5 over root 3. The distance he walked is how much closer he got, the far distance minus the near distance. To subtract these cleanly, rationalize the second term so both carry root 3. 28.5 over root 3 becomes 28.5 root 3 over 3. Factor out 28.5 root 3. Inside, 1 whole minus 1/3 is 2/3. Multiplying out gives 19 root 3, about 32.9 meters walked. Inside, any, how far did he walk, move, travel? Question is the difference of two positions. Compute each distance separately from its own angle, then subtract. And don't forget to work above eye level when the observer has height. Two elevations from one point again, they share a base, so solve that base, then subtract to peel off the tower. This is our shared base pattern once more. From a single point you sight the building's top, which is the tower's bottom, at 45, and the tower's top at 60. Two triangles, one common ground distance d. And here's the smart order. The building alone is fully known, so use it to pin down d first. For the 20-meter building at 45, tangent of 45 is 1, so the height equals the base outright, d is 20 meters. That 45 angle handed us the base with no effort. Now the taller sighting to the tower's top at 60. The full height, building plus tower t, is opposite, over the same base d, so tangent of 60 which is root 3. Substitute the base we found, d equals 20. 20 plus t equals 20 root 3. Subtract the building's 20 from both sides to leave the tower height alone. T equals 20 root 3 minus 20, or 20 times root 3 minus 1, about 14.6 meters. Inside, a 45-degree sighting is a gift, because tangent 45 is 1, it instantly gives you the base with no algebra. Always hunt for the 45 angle to fix your shared base first, then feed it into the steeper triangle. A statue perched on a pedestal, two elevations from one spot, one shared base, exactly the pattern you now know. Here the unknowns are tangled together, so name them and link through the shared base. Let the pedestal height be p and the ground distance be d. The pedestal top is sighted at 45, the statue top at 60, and both triangles rest on the same d. Because d appears in both, it's the hinge that connects the two equations. Pedestal first, at 45. Tangent of 45 is 1, so the pedestal height equals the base, d equals p. One neat relationship banked. Now the statue's top at 60. The full height, pedestal p plus the 1.6 statue, is opposite, over the same base d. Tangent of 60 is root 3. Use the first relationship to replace d by p. That's the elimination step, collapsing two unknowns into one. Gather the p terms, move p across so it factors out, leaving 1.6 equals p times root 3 minus 1. Divide to isolate p, then rationalize the ugly root 3 minus 1 denominator by multiplying top and bottom by root 3 plus 1, the bottom becomes 2. 1.6 over 2 is 0.8, so it simplifies to 0.8 times root 3 plus 1, about 2.19 meters for the pedestal. Insight: the recipe repeats. Whenever a 45-degree angle appears, use it to pin the base to a single letter, substitute into the steeper 60-degree triangle, then rationalize. Recognizing this pattern turns a scary to unknown problem into routine algebra. A building and a tower stare at each other across a gap, and the one whose height you know quietly hands you that gap. Read the geometry. A building and a tower stand a distance d apart. From the building's foot you look up to the tower's top at 60. From the tower's foot you look up to the building's top at 30. The gap d is shared by both triangles. Since only the tower's height is known, use the tower triangle to find d first. For the 50-meter tower seen at 60 from the building's foot, height opposite, gap d adjacent, so tangent of 60 which is root 3. Rearrange for the gap. D is 50 over root 3 meters. Keep it in this form for a moment. We're about to divide by root 3 again. Now the building, seen at 30 from the tower's foot, across the very same gap d, height h opposite, d adjacent, tangent of 30 which is 1 over root 3. So the building height is d over root 3. Substitute d equals 50 over root 3, and now root 3 multiplies root 3 in the denominator. Root 3 times root 3 is just 3, and the roots vanish entirely, leaving a clean 50 over 3, about 16.67 meters. Insight: when two objects sight each other, always start with the one whose height you already know. It fixes the shared distance, and that distance then unlocks the other object. Notice too how the 30 and 60 pairing made the root 3's cancel to a tidy answer. A point standing between two poles splits the 80-meter road into two bases, and equal heights is the single fact that solves it. Smart naming is everything here. The point sits somewhere between the poles on an 80-meter road. Call its distance to the first pole x, then its distance to the second is whatever's left, 80 minus x, and notice those two must add back to 80. The poles are equal in height, both h. That equality is our key. We write h from each triangle and force them equal. First pole, at 60 degrees. Height h opposite, base x adjacent, so tangent of 60 gives h equals root 3x. Second pole, at 30 degrees, over the remaining base 80 minus x, tangent of 30 gives h equals 80 minus x, all over root 3. Now cash in the equal heights fact. Both expressions equal the same h, so set them equal to each other. This single equation holds only one unknown, x. Multiply both sides by root 3 to clear the fraction. On the left, root 3 times root 3 is 3, giving 3x equals 80 minus x. Pure linear algebra now. Bring the x's together. 4x equals 80, so x is 20. So the point stands 20 meters from the first pole and 60 from the second, and indeed 20 plus 60 is 80, a nice built-in check. Finally put x back to get the common pole height. Root 3 times 20 is 20 root 3, about 34.6 meters. Insight: when a point sits between two objects, split the total distance as x and total minus x so the two bases automatically add up. Then whatever fact makes the two triangles related, here equal heights, gives you the single equation you need. And always sanity check that your two distances sum back to the total. To viewing points on a straight line, 20 meters apart, set up two equations in the same height and eliminate. The unknown we are not told is the canal width, so name it W, that's the near point's distance to the tower. The far point is a further 20 meters back, so its distance is W plus 20. Crucially, it's the same tower both times, so its height h is common to both triangles. That shared h is what lets us combine the equations. From the near point at 60 degrees, height h over width W, tangent of 60 is root 3, so h equals root 3 W. From the far point at 30 degrees, over the longer base W plus 20, tangent of 30 gives h equals W plus 20 over root 3. Same tower, same h, so set the two expressions equal. Now only W remains. Multiply through by root 3 to clear the fraction. Root 3 times root 3 on the left is 3, giving 3W equals W plus 20. Solve to W equals 20, so the canal with W is 10 meters. Feed W back into the first equation for the tower height. Root 3 times 10 is 10 root 3, about 17.3 meters. Insight: two sightings from points a known gap apart always produce two equations in the same height. Write both, set them equal to eliminate the height, solve for the near distance, then back substitute. This near and far pattern recurs constantly in board exams. From one rooftop you look up and down, the up angle catches the tower's top, the down angle its foot, and you add the two heights. You're standing on a 7-meter roof, sighting a taller cable tower opposite. Looking down at 45 reaches the tower's foot at ground level. Looking up at 60 reaches its top. Here's the plan. The down angle to the foot gives the horizontal distance across, the up angle gives the tower's part above roof level, and at the end we add back the 7 meters of roof to reach the ground. Remember, a depression angle equals the elevation from the point below. Start with the depression of 45 down to the tower's foot. Across that triangle, the roof height 7 is opposite and the horizontal distance D is adjacent. Tangent of 45 is 1, so the distance equals the height, D is 7 meters. Now look up at 60 to the tower's top. The part of the tower above roof level, call it A, is opposite, over the same horizontal distance D. Substitute D equals 7. The upper part is 7 root 3 meters. The full tower stretches from the ground up, the 7 meters level with the roof plus the 7 root 3 above it. Factor to get 7 times 1 plus root 3, about 19.1 meters. Insight: an up angle plus a down angle from one rooftop splits the target into two stacked heights. The part level with you, from the depression, and the part above you, from the elevation, which you simply add. The down angle's real job is usually to hand you the horizontal distance. One lighthouse, two ships on the same side add two depression angles, find each ship's distance, then subtract for the gap. The observer is 75 meters up in the lighthouse. Both ships lie on the same side, so the nearer one appears steeper, at 45, and the farther one shallower, at 30. The plan: Slide each depression down to an elevation at the ship, find each ship's distance from the base, then subtract, since both distances are measured along the same line from the foot. Near ship, the depression of 45 equals an elevation of 45 at the ship. Height 75 opposite, distance adjacent, tangent 1, so the distance simply equals the height, 75 meters. Far ship at 30, tangent of 30 is 1 over root 3. Rearrange for the far distance, 75 root 3 meters. Being farther, it's larger than the near 75, as it should be. The gap between the ships is the far distance minus the near one, both measured from the same base, so subtracting is valid. Factor out 75. Put in root 3. 75 times root 3 minus 1 is about 54.9 meters between the ships. Insight. For same-side objects seen from a fixed height, each depression angle gives one distance from the base, and the separation is simply their difference. The shallower angle always belongs to the farther object, a quick way to check your setup. The balloon drifts level, so its height never changes, only its horizontal distance does, and the trip is the difference of the two. 2 setup points. First, the girl's eyes are 1.2 meters up, so above her eye level the balloon flies at 88.2 minus 1.2, that is a constant 87 meters. Second, and this is the heart of it, the balloon moves horizontally, staying at that same height, so its height stays fixed while its horizontal distance grows. Find the horizontal distance at each angle, then subtract for the trip. At the first instant, 60 degrees, the balloon is nearly overhead. Height 87 opposite, horizontal distance x1 adjacent, tangent of 60 gives x1 equals 87 over root 3. Later the angle has dropped to 30, meaning the balloon has drifted farther out. Same height, tangent of 30, giving the larger distance x2 equals 87 root 3. The distance it traveled is the later, farther position minus the earlier, nearer one. To subtract cleanly, rationalize the second term so both share root 3. 87 over root 3 becomes 87 root 3 over 3. Factor out 87 root 3. Inside, 1 whole minus 1/3 leaves 2/3. That gives 58 root 3, about 100.5 meters of drift. Insight. The key realization is that horizontal motion keeps the height constant, so the same height sits in both triangles. Only the two horizontal distances change, and the distance traveled is simply their difference. Spotting what stays fixed is half the battle. The clever twist: constant speed lets us turn distances straight into times, and the tower's height obligingly cancels itself out. This is the trickiest of the set, so watch the strategy. We're never told the tower's height, and remarkably we won't need it. Call it h anyway. As the car approaches, its distance shrinks. We write both distances in terms of h, and because the speed is uniform, distance is directly proportional to time, so a ratio of distances is the same as a ratio of times, and h will cancel. First sighting, depression 30, slid down to elevation 30 at the car. Height h opposite, distance d1 adjacent, tangent of 30. Solving, the far distance d1 is h root 3. Second sighting 6 seconds later, Depression 60, giving the nearer distance d2 equals h over root 3. In those 6 seconds the car covered d1 minus d2. Combining over root 3, h root 3 minus h over root 3 simplifies to 2h over root 3. That's the distance covered in 6 seconds. The distance still left to the foot is d2. Since speed is uniform, time is proportional to distance, so the remaining time is 6 seconds times the ratio of remaining distance d2 to covered distance. Watch the magic. The h cancels, the root 3 cancels, and we are left with 6 times 1/2, a clean 3 seconds. The tower's height never mattered. In sight, when speed is uniform, distances become times, so you compare distances as a ratio and the unknown height cancels out entirely. Whenever a problem gives no measurements at all, only a time and angles, expect exactly this kind of cancellation. Set up the ratio and trust the algebra. Let's lock it all in with exam-style questions before you go. First, name the sides. As always, the 30-meter height stands across from the angle, so it's opposite. The ground distance we want lies alongside the angle, so it's adjacent. Opposite over adjacent means tangent, so this is a tangent of 60 problem, and the unknown is the base. Consider the 4 options. Tangent of 60 is root 3, so root 3 equals 30 over d, which gives d equal to 30 over root 3. Rationalize by multiplying top and bottom by root 3, and you get 10 root 3 meters. Option A, watch the traps. Option B, 30 root 3, is what you'd wrongly get by multiplying instead of dividing. Option C ignores the angle entirely. The distance must come out smaller than the height here, because a steep 60-degree look means you're standing fairly close. Picture the pole and its shadow forming a right triangle, with the sun's ray as the hypotenuse. The height is opposite the sun's angle, the shadow is adjacent. When shadow length equals height, the opposite and adjacent sides are equal, so their ratio, the tangent, is exactly 1. Consider the 4 options. Since height over shadow is 1, the tangent of the sun's elevation is 1, and the only standard angle whose tangent is 1 is 45 degrees, option B. It can't be 30, whose tangent is the smaller 1 over root 3, nor 60, whose tangent is the larger root 3, and 90 is impossible. A sun straight overhead casts no shadow at all. Equal height and shadow is the signature of a 45-degree sun. The ladder is given, and it's the slanted side leaning on the wall, that's the hypotenuse. The wall height we want is opposite the 60-degree ground angle. Opposite paired with hypotenuse is sine, so this is sine of 60, not tangent. Consider the 4 options. Height equals 15 times sine 60, and sine 60 is root 3 over 2, so the wall height is 15 root 3 over 2 meters, about 13 meters, option B. The traps are instructive. Option A, 7.5, is 15 times sine 30, the wrong angle. Option C forgets to halve, and option D sneaks in root 2, which belongs to 45 degrees, not 60. Choosing sine and knowing sine 60 is root 3 over 2 lands you on B. A taut string is a straight hypotenuse, and the kite's height is opposite the 60-degree angle it makes with the ground. Opposite over hypotenuse is sine, so it's sine of 60 again, same reasoning as the ladder. Consider the 4 options. Height equals 100 times sine 60, and sine 60 is root 3 over 2, giving 50 root 3 meters, about 86.6 meters. Option C, option A, 50, is 100 times sine 30. Option B forgets to divide by 2. Option D is what tangent would wrongly give. The height must be less than the 100-meter string, since the vertical rise is always shorter than the slanted hypotenuse. That alone rules out option B. Don't wrestle with the depression angle up top. Slide it down. The angle of depression from the tower equals the angle of elevation from the point on the ground because of the parallel horizontals. So this becomes an ordinary elevation of 45, where the tower height is opposite and the distance adjacent, a tangent problem, and tangent of 45 is 1. Consider the 4 options. Because tangent of 45 is 1, height over distance equals 1, which forces the horizontal distance to equal the height, a clean 20 meters, option B. This is a hallmark of 45 degrees, distance and height are always equal, so no root 3's appear. Options A and D, both carrying root 3, are the telltale signs of someone who used 30 or 60 by mistake. Assertion reason questions have 3 parts, so take them in order. Is the assertion true? Is the reason true on its own? And crucially, does the reason actually explain why the assertion holds? Let's test the assertion by computing the height and see if it really comes to 30. Which option is correct? Let's verify. Height equals base times tangent of the angle, so 30 root 3 times tangent 30. Tangent 30 is 1 over root 3, and the root 3's cancel beautifully, leaving exactly 30 meters, so the assertion is true. Now the reason. Tangent equals opposite over adjacent is precisely the definition we just leaned on to get that height, so it's true and it's the very rule that makes the assertion work. Both true, and the reason explains the assertion, that's option A. The key is that the reason isn't just a true fact floating nearby, it's the actual engine of the calculation. Again, 3 checks in order. Is the assertion true? Is the reason true? And does the reason explain the assertion? This one connects to something you can picture every morning, a shadow shrinking as the sun climbs. Let's see if the algebra matches that everyday observation. Which option is correct? The reason gives us the formula, shadow length equals height divided by tangent of the sun's altitude. Now reason it through. As the morning goes on, the altitude increases, and we know tangent grows with the angle, low, 1, high. Dividing a fixed height by a larger tangent gives a smaller shadow. So the shadow shortens, exactly as the assertion claims and exactly as you see at Sunrise. Both true, and the reason is precisely why the assertion holds, option A. The lovely thing is the formula confirms the everyday picture, high sun, short shadow. Notice the familiar shape here, 1 surveyor, 2 elevation angles, 45 to the roof, 60 to the antenna's tip, and both triangles resting on one shared base of 40 meters. That's our 2 triangles on a shared base pattern. We'll find the building first, then the building plus antenna, and subtract to isolate the antenna. 3 parts, each building on the last. Start with the roof at 45 degrees. The building height is opposite the angle and the 40-meter distance is adjacent, so it's tangent. And tangent of 45 is 1, the friendliest case, which means the height equals the base outright. Because tangent of 45 is 1, the building height simply equals the 40-meter base distance. No calculation beyond recognizing that special angle. The building is 40 meters tall. Now sight the antenna's tip at 60 degrees over the very same 40-meter base. This gives the full height from the ground to the top of the antenna, so use tangent of 60. Tangent of 60 is √3, so the full height, building plus antenna, is 40 √3, about 69.28 meters. Reassuringly, that's taller than the building alone, as it must be. The antenna is just the piece sitting on top of the building. So take the full height to the antenna's tip and subtract off the building we already found. The antenna alone is the total minus the building, 40 √3 minus 40, or 40 times √3 minus 1, about 29.28 meters. This is the classic finish, two angels gave to heights, and subtracting peeled off the top part. This is the reverse problem. You're given the sides and asked for the angle, so build the tangent and read the angle back of it. Here we are hunting the angle, not a length. For the sun's elevation, the pole is opposite and its shadow is adjacent, so tangent equals height over shadow. Notice we don't need actual numbers, just the relationship between them. We're told the shadow is √3 times the height, so put √3h in the denominator against h on top. The h cancels top and bottom, that's why no measurement was needed. We're left with a pure number. Now read it backwards. Which standard angle has tangent 1 over √3? That's 30 degrees. So theta is 30. In sight, to find an angle, form the tangent from the two sides and recognize the standard value. And physically it makes sense, a shadow much longer than the pole means a low, early morning sun, which is exactly a shallow 30 degrees. The classic two ships from a cliff to depression angels, so find each ship's distance and subtract for the gap between them. Set the scene. The observer is 100 meters up on the cliff. Both ships are on the same side, so the nearer one is seen at the steeper 45, the farther at the shallower 30. Slide each depression down to an elevation at the ship, find each distance from the base, then subtract. Both are measured along the same line, so subtraction is valid. Near ship at 45, tangent is 1, so the distance equals the height straight away, 100 meters. Far ship at 30, tangent of 30 is 1 over √3, which rearranges to give the larger distance, 100 √3. The distance between the ships is the far minus the near. Factor out the 100. Put √3 as 1.732. 100 times 0.732 is about 73 meters apart. In sight, the same side depression setup always reduces to the difference of the two ground distances. Note the pattern 100 times √3 minus 1. The same shape appeared with the 75-meter lighthouse. Recognize it and you can almost write the answer down. Another find angle problem, build the tangent from the numbers, simplify, and recognize which standard angle it names. We want the sun's elevation, so form its tangent. The pole height of 6 is opposite, the shadow of 2 √3 is adjacent. Tangent is 6 over 2 √3. Simplify the fraction first, 6 over 2 is 3, leaving 3 over √3. Now rationalize, 3 over √3, multiplying top and bottom by √3, gives 3 √3 over 3, which is just root 3. Read it backwards. The standard angle whose tangent is root 3, the big tangent, is 60 degrees. Insight: to name an angle, always simplify the tangent to one of the 3 standard values first. And the physical picture checks out. A shadow shorter than the pole means the sun is high in the sky, which is the steep 60-degree elevation. Short shadow, high sun. Before the exam, let's lock in this whole chapter, but not as bare formulas to memorize. We'll recall why the tangent rule works, where the standard angles come from, why depression mirrors elevation, and the exact traps that quietly cost easy marks. Understand the origin of each and you'll never need to cram it. Here is the whole chapter on one card, and let's recall where each line comes from. Every problem is a right triangle, and it's a right triangle for a real reason. The height is vertical and the ground is horizontal, so they always meet at 90 degrees, which is exactly what lets trigonometry in. The tangent of the angle is height over base, opposite over adjacent, straight from last chapter's definition. Elevation means looking up, depression looking down, and the depression from the top equals the elevation from the bottom, not by luck, but because the 2 horizontals are parallel and the sight line is a transversal, making them equal alternate angles. Know your 3 tangents, 1 over root 3, 1, and root 3, all read from the 30, 60, 90 and 45 triangles. And whenever one point gives 2 angles, that's 2 triangles sharing a base, solve the base once and reuse it. The single best habit in this chapter: draw the right triangle first, before you write a single formula. Mark the right angle at the foot, then label the angle you're given and the side you know. Why does this help so much? Because opposite and adjacent only mean anything once you can see the triangle from the angle's point of view. The moment the picture is on paper, you can point and say that side faces the angle, that one lies alongside it, and the right ratio almost writes itself. Every mistake in this chapter traces back to skipping the sketch. Choosing the right ratio is never a guess if you name the sides first. Height and ground distance are the opposite and adjacent sides, and opposite over adjacent is the tangent, so any problem that lives on the ground with a height and a base is a tangent problem. You only switch to sine or cosine when a hypotenuse walks in, a ladder, a kite string, a rope, a slanting line of sight of known length. Then ask which side it pairs with. Opposite means sine, adjacent means cosine. So the whole decision reduces to one question: is the slanted side involved? No means tangent, yes means sine or cosine. For depression problems, don't fight the angle floating up at the top, slide it down instead. Here's why you're allowed to. The horizontal line at the top and the ground below are parallel, and your line of sight cuts across both as a transversal, so the depression angle up there and the elevation angle down at the object are equal alternate angles. That means you can take any angle of depression theta and simply redraw it as an angle of elevation theta at the object on the ground. The instant you do, the scary rooftop problem becomes an ordinary lookup sum you've solved a dozen times. A very common trap: measuring the depression angle from the vertical tower instead of from the horizontal. Remember the definition: depression is how far your gaze drops below the horizontal line of sight, so it's always taken from the horizontal, downward. If you measure it from the vertical tower instead, you actually get the complement, 90 minus the true angle, and every ratio in your triangle comes out wrong. So always draw that horizontal dashed line at the observer's eye first, and measure the depression down from it. The other classic slip is swapping opposite and adjacent. For the angle standing down at the ground, the height is across from it, so height is the opposite side, and the distance runs alongside it, so the ground distance is adjacent. Get this backwards and your tangent flips upside down. You'd write base over height instead of height over base, and your answer inverts. The cure is simple. Don't trust memory. Read the side straight off your own sketch each time, asking which side faces the angle, which one touches it. A quick memory hook so you never confuse the two. Up you elevate, down you depress. Elevation is your eye lifting up from the horizontal to something above. Depression is your eye dropping down from the horizontal to something below. The word tells you the direction. And the anchor for both is the same, always the horizontal line of sight, never the vertical. Say it once and the two names sort themselves. And for the standard tangents, remember, low, 1, high. Tangent 30 is 1 over root 3, the small one. Tangent 45 is exactly 1. Tangent 60 is root 3, the big one. Why in that order? Because the tangent grows as the angle steepens. A steeper lookup means a taller height over the same base, so a bigger ratio. That's also a built-in error check. If your bigger angle somehow gave a smaller tangent, you've slipped somewhere. Low, 1, high, and rising with the angle. In 60 seconds, and every line has its reason. Every question is a right triangle, because height is vertical and ground is horizontal, so draw it and label the sides first. Tangent of the angle is height over base, straight from opposite over adjacent, and if a hypotenuse appears, switch to sine or cosine. Elevation looks up, depression looks down, both measured from the horizontal, and depression at the top equals elevation at the bottom by alternate edges across parallel lines. Keep the three tangents ready, 1 over root 3, 1, and root 3, rising with the angle, and when one point gives to angles, share the base. Do that, and you're not just exam ready, you understand every step. Good luck!